Saludos estudiantes de octavo grado. El día de hoy vamos a ver la lesson 11.6, inverse variation. Okay, the key concept that we are going to learn and we are going to understand in this case is going to be x times y is going to be equal to k. K in this case is going to be the inverse variation, the constant of the inverse variation. And also if you solve for y, you are going to have y equal to k divided by x. That the expression that we can use for the inverse variation. You just need to know that k has to be different of 0 because it's the value of variation that we are going to find. Okay, in the problem number 1 that we are going to solve right now, say writing an equation given a point, you have this. Suppose y varies inversely with x, okay, and y has the value of a, x in this case has the value of 3. They say, what is an equation for the inverse variation? Okay, you need to apply the formula. You know that the formula is x times y equal to k. Okay, you already know the value of x and y. X is equal to 3, y is equal in this case to a, and is equal to k. Okay, if you multiply these two, you are going to have 24 equal to k. Okay, that means that the inverse variation, in this case, if you apply the formula, because the formula has to be in that way, you're substituting the value of k, you are going to have x and y equal to 24, because 24 is the value of k. Okay, and that's the way that you can use the formula. Also, if you want to give the equation in the way that you solve for y, you're going to have 24 divided in x. Okay, these two answers are going to be your equations for the inverse variation. Okay, that's example number 1. Then we are going to solve the example number 2. In the problem number 2, we have this instruction using inverse variation. Okay, and the problem is a problem about physics. Say the weight needed to balance a lever varies inversely with the distance from the fulcrum to the weight. Okay, how far away from the fulcrum should be person sit to balance the lever? Okay, ¿a qué distancia del fulcrum? El fulcrum es esto que está aquí. Debe estar la persona para balancear la tablita que tenemos en este caso aquí. Okay, if it has to be balanced, you need to know that both has to be equal, right? That means that the weight of the person times the distance has to be equal to the weight of the elephant times the distance. That is the elephant from the fulcrum. Okay, that means that you are going to have something like that. Weight of the person times distance of the person has to be equal to the weight of the elephant times the distance of the elephant. Okay, that means that you're going to have something like that. 160 pounds in this case times x, because you have the x is the distance, is going to be equal to 1,000 pounds times 7 feet. Okay, if you solve that, you are going to have something like that. In this case, it's going to be 7,000 pounds times feet. Okay, and then if you solve for x, you're going to have that these 160 pounds are going to be dividing here. If you see, pounds are going to be eliminated with pounds, and you are going to have feet in this case. If you do that division, you are going to have 43.75 feet. That means that the person has to be to a distance of 43 and 75 feet. That's the way that you can use a inverse variation to know what is going to be the value that you need to find. Okay, in this case you need to evaluate one side equal to the other side, and then you find the value. Okay, now we are going to do the example number 3. Now we are going to solve the problem number 3. Let's say graphing and inverse variation. Okay, we have that is the inverse variation. What we need to do? We need to do a table with the values to know what is going to be the value, in this case, of the equation that we are going to use. Remember, we do the table with values of x and y. Remember that? You're going to have x and y. giving values to x, you are going to know what is the value of y. In this case, we need to do two tables. We are going to do a table for positive numbers, and we are going to do another table for negative numbers, okay? To know what is going to be the values of y. In this case, I'm going to use negative values here because I have a. In this case, I'm going to put numbers that I know that I can divide in a. I'm going to use, for example, negative 8. I'm going to use negative 4. I'm going to do it a little down, okay? Negative 4. I'm going to use negative 2. I'm going to use also negative 1 and 0, because you need to see what happens when you use 0, okay? And then I'm going to use that values also in the other side, just that are going to be positive, okay? 8, 4, 2, 1, and 0, okay? First, if you get the value of negative 8, in this case, it's going to be 8 divided in negative 8, you're going to have negative 1. If you get the value of negative 4, 8 divided in negative 4 is going to be negative 2, okay? If you get the value of negative 2, 8 divided in negative 2, you're going to have negative 4. And negative 1 is going to be negative 8, okay? But what happens when you get the value of 0? It's going to be undefined. You can do it, undefined. I'm going to put undefined, okay? It's going to be the same here. It's going to be undefined, okay? And also the values are going to be the same, just that are positive. The values of y is going to be positive in that side, okay? You're going to have 1, 2, it's going to be the same values, 4, and 8, okay? Having that, you can do the graph. We are going to do the graph in this case. I'm going to do in the negative side first, okay? It's going to be negative 8 with negative 1. I don't have the value here, but I have negative 4 and negative 2. I'm going to use negative 4 to x and negative 2 to y, okay? That's the value. The other one is going to be really like here. Just for show you the negative 8, but you don't need to do it, okay? Then you are going to have negative 2 in x and negative 4 in y. Negative 2 in x and negative 4 in y. And also you're going to have negative 1 and negative 8 that we don't have the value, and 0 that is undefined, okay? That means that you're going to have something like that, okay? That's going to be the equation that you already have, okay? In the negative side, okay? In the other one, it's going to be in the same way. A and 1, a in x, and it's going to be 1. It's going to come for that way. We're going to have 4 and 2, 4 for x and 2 for y. 4 on x, 2 on y. Then you're going to have 2 and 4, 2 in x and 4 in y. Okay? Something like that. And also you're going to have 1 in a. 1 in a that is going to be really up, okay? You're going to have something like that. Okay? That means that your graph is going to be in that way. You are not going to have values in that side because with 0 it's undefined, and the graph is going to get open in both sides, okay? That's the way that you can graph a inverse variation, okay? Now we are going to do the next example. Okay, now we are going to do the problem number 4, but before to do the problem number 4, you need to know what is the key concept that we are going to see right now. We are going to have direct variation, and also we are going to have inverse variation, okay? And it's two different formulas that we are going to use. When you have direct variation, you are going to have that y is equal to k, that k is the constant of variation that you are going to find, or you are going to need. Y equal to k times x. That's the way. And if you are going to find the constant of variation, you're going to have, if you solve for k, it's going to have y divided in x, okay? That's the way that you can find, okay? And in the second example, when it's a inverse variation, you're going to have y equal to the constant k divided in x, okay? And if you solve for k, the constant, the x that is dividing needs to go to multiply to the other side, okay? With that formula, you are going to check if you have a direct variation or a inverse variation. Okay, in this case, I'm going to check the first one, okay? And I'm going to see if we can solve it with the first, okay? I'm going to put direct variation. And for that, I'm going to use the formula that is going to be k equal to y divided in x. Okay, just for check, I'm going to do minus 15, the first one, divided in 3, that is going to be equal to negative 5. Okay, that's the first constant. Now I'm going to check with the second one. Is negative 20 divided in 4 is negative 5. And also with the last one, negative 25 divided in 5 is equal to negative 5. If you see, all of them are the same value. Okay, that means, because it's true that the variation that you have in this example is direct variation. What happens if I try to do with the inverse variation? Has to be multiplying. This times this is going to be negative 45. Then this times this is going to be negative 80. You can see that it's really different, because negative 45 and negative 80 is really different, and this times this is going to be negative 125. Are different. It's why you know that it's a direct variation. Okay, just when you try to solve it using the first equation. Now I'm going to do the other one, trying to solve it using inverse variation or direct variation. In this case, I'm going to start using inverse variation just for check if we can have the solution. Okay, inverse variation, and you know that in the inverse variation it's going to be k equal to y times x, and we will see what happens. In the first one, you're going to have 2 times 9. It's going to be equal to 18. Okay? Then you are going to have 4 times 4.5. Okay? If you multiply 4 times 4.5, it's going to be 4 times 5, it's going to be 20. Then 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Adding to 2 is going to be 18. One decimal place means that it's going to be 18. Okay? And if you multiply 6 times 3, it's going to be equal to 18. Okay, again you can see that all the values are equal to 18. Trying that using inverse variation, that means that that example is also a inverse variation. Okay, and what happens if you try to solve it in the other way, trying to find a direct variation? Has to divide y in x. 9 divided in 2 is going to be 4.5. 4.5 divided in 4 is going to be 1 point something like that, and you can see that it's really different. Okay, direct variation, you need to divide y in x. Inverse variation, you need to multiply x and y. Okay, that's the way that you solve that kind of exercise. Okay, I hope that you will have enough information to solve that lesson and get your homework done. Okay, God bless you guys.